over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. In my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there who qualifies under that description. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you were sufficiently spoiled if you're a dad or if you're a parent that has been put into that role. Then my heart goes out to you, and my love goes out to all my children, wherever you may be in this great vast world. But it's a wonderful day, and it's a great day to acknowledge the dads that are out there, and and the moms who have to be both as well. I don't mean to neglect that. I think on days like this, these are the days when I kind of just reflect and go, everybody as parents, we always do the best we can. There's no books on this stuff. There's books out there, but there's nobody sitting there helping you make the choices that you make and the things that you do in life. But you always do them with the best of intentions. And sometimes it works out phenomenally and sometimes it doesn't. And being a kid is extra tough. But I hope all you kids out there understand that your parents love you very much and they're doing the best they can for you. And to all the parents out there, make sure you are doing the best you can for your kids. I'm just going to start the ghost application here in just a second. I'd forgotten to do that, so hold on 1 second. Just had to start the session and give it a good name, so there we go. We are underway, and the ghost application is running. It's starting to pick up things again. My last smudging and cleansing held out for quite a long time. There was nothing on the board at all for a long time. But starting last night, it started picking up presences again. So we'll see what happens tonight. But I love you all very much, and thank you for joining us tonight in our Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories. And I hope you all are ready, because it's time for bed. Sometimes I'm tall. I'm not really tall. I'm only about 5'10", I guess, ish. I think I'm getting shorter now, but I was like 5'10" and a half in my tallest, but I'm about 5'10", I think now. So I don't think that's tall, but thanks for saying that, I guess. Is that good or bad? I don't know. But anyway, I just got to say, Truth Hip Hop Consciousness. That's you threw me with your chat message because he said, now he's greeting us from Texas, or he or she. I guess I don't know for sure, but greeting us for Texas. And yeah, when I think of Texas, I think of howdy. However, that was aloha from Texas. And so that was funny. I was just like, huh? So anyway, oh, cool. Very cool. Oh, wonderful. I'm glad your dad liked it. Thank you. Truth Hip Hop says, got my dad a Paranormal Portal shirt. He likes it and has been wearing it a lot in public. Very cool. Broadcasting, spread the word. Wearing the colors, representing. Thank you very much for that, by the way. That was wonderful. And we sure appreciate that support. Hope you love the shirts. Hope everything fit okay. But that's very cool. It really helps us out a bunch. I just say aloha a lot. Kind of my thing. Okay, gotcha. I gotcha. And it's a man. So it was right. I was right when I said he. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. And I got some stories pulled up for you guys. It's Sunday, so I know a lot of you are sitting on the edge of your seat going, oh, man, how come? But, it's all about the power of positive thinking. Project an amazing Monday. Project it's going to be an amazing day. Push that out there with all your passion and love, and maybe it will be. And maybe it won't be, but at least you'll go into it feeling optimistic, and that's always a good thing. It's never good to go in with a pessimistic idea of what you're looking at. I know it's not great to go back to work. In most cases, many of us, our jobs are tough, and it's hard to get real excited about them, but just try to make the best of each day you can, because you just never know how many of them you got, and if you're pissed all the time, then that's not a good way to spend them. So I got some stories pulled up for you guys. I hope you're ready. I hope I'm ready, actually. What the hell do I have all these tabs open all over the place for? I get so crazy with these links and stuff that I remember I had that one open. Okay. All right, let me get this up. Let's do this right. So the first one I'm going to read you is coming from Virginia. Virginia again. It's either Ohio or Virginia lately, I'm telling you. Let's see what's going on. So just under 2 years ago, we moved from an old apartment building to another old building less than a mile away. Same zip code, though. My end of town is old, as I explained in a different story, the Ocean View section of Norfolk, Virginia. And many places down here have 50 to 100 plus years old and older, and the area is full of history. Some of it dark and actually quite unsettling. From the very first time I walked into our new place, I knew it was an old school. It's a solid concrete and brick structure that you can tell the original building had been added to at some later date, increasing it to 3 floors. And later I found out, yes, in fact, it was an old Ocean View Elementary and has been replaced sometime in the 40s with a new building a mile down the street. And since the beginning, I knew something else was in the building. Living in so many paranormally enhanced places gets you really attuned to that stuff after a while. Within the first week of moving in, I sat alone in the living room and heard the sound that sounded exactly like children laughing. Not normally an alarming thing, but it came from directly in front of me, in the middle of my living room. And I still am not sure if it was from outside, upstairs, or what, but it was kind of disturbing. A friend who was visiting shortly after also reported she felt a hand grab her hand as she walked into the apartment, and she said it felt really small, like a child's hand. A few months later, I was home alone again, but getting ready to head out, and allow me to give you a little bit of layout. The apartment is laid out in an H shape, with a long living room space which leads through an archway into the kitchen hallway area, and that narrows down to a hallway with a pantry on the left and the bathroom on the right. And just before the bedroom door, the bedroom is 12 by 14, is isolated from the rest of the place, and you cannot hear anyone knocking on the front door from the bedroom. The building is made of brick concrete with plaster walls and wooden raised floor. Technically, the ground floor is below ground level. I was in the bathroom getting ready, getting out of the shower, and I had the bathroom door wide open. It blocks the hallway otherwise, and in the kitchen hall section was a large dresser with a 45-gallon fish tank. In the reflection of the tank, you could see into the kitchen, and as I flipped my head down to wrap my hair, I looked into the fish tank and saw a tall male standing in the kitchen. I quickly stood up and ran out and checked the kitchen, but no one but the cat and myself were in the apartment. I went back to the apartment to see if I could figure it out, but I never could and never again saw the figure standing in the kitchen like that. I guess I went back to the bathroom to see if they could figure it out. I don't know if I said apartment, I think. But several more months later, my boyfriend, myself, and the cat were in the living room area of the apartment, and all the lights were off in the other end, and everybody, including the cat, was off the floor sitting down. Suddenly, I heard a noise from the other side of the apartment, like the sound of a foot dragging across the carpeted floor. Very recognizable, and I looked at my boyfriend, who was looking at me, and neither of us knew what made that sound. The cat acted off all evening, following us closely and refusing to stay in the room by herself. The cat, I assume that's to be protective. Maybe cats can be cowardly too, I don't know. 2 days later, the sound repeated, but this time we, my boyfriend and myself and my cat, were in the bedroom and off the floor, and the other end of the apartment was dark and sealed up. Again, the foot scraping the carpet sound, as clear as day, and we haven't heard this sound again and never did find an explanation for it. And continuing, this is a long story. About this time, we started leaving a light on in the front part of the apartment at night, and we're both grown adults, 27 and 31 years old, but something gave us the creeps. In the archway leading between the two sections of the apartment, if you sat in the bedroom and the living room was dark, you would get completely unnerved looking into the darkness of the archway. My boyfriend, several friends, and myself all felt this. If you sat in the living room and looked into the darkened hallway bedroom, you don't feel anything. Also, at this time, my boyfriend and myself started getting strange I'm not alone feelings. If you were in the bedroom but alone in the house, several times I would get up and go looking into the living room to see if my boyfriend had come home, only to find the place locked up and empty. And I swore it felt like another person had come into the house, and as you can't hear the front door from the bedroom, I really did think he had come home. He later told me he had the same experiences when he was home alone. A few major creepy events. First, as I explained before, the bathroom door is open, but not wide open. It blocks the hallway. One night, my boyfriend was using the loo, and I was in the bedroom with my cat watching TV, and I got up, turned off the TV, and left the room, closing the bathroom door just enough to get by, and my cat was right on my heels. Yes, she often follows me, just like a dog would. And we sat down and started watching TV in the living room, and a few minutes later, my boyfriend joins us and asked me if I passed by twice, and I said, no, why? He stated that just before I walked by the door, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a pale female leg pass by the door. I told him I would have had to have moved the door to pass, plus the cat was with me, and if I passed twice, he would have seen me 3 times. He would have seen me 3 times, not just twice. He doesn't know what he saw that night. The very next night, he was in the bathroom shaving, and I was standing in the hallway with the door open, blocking the hallway, and I was talking to him, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a pale white, sharp-clawed female hand wrap around the doorknob and then pull back around. I stopped in mid-word, and my boyfriend asked what I saw, and I told him, and he looked past the door. There was nothing there. The last straw was the dreams. I started having a young male, white, between 20 and 23, dressed in military fatigues, who was fighting with a woman in the apartment, and something happened, and he ended up hanging himself on the steam pipe, an 8-inch pipe that runs through the entire apartment, in the bathroom. I started seeing a green military-style belt hanging off the pipe in the bathroom out of the corner of my eye, and it upset me greatly and did start affecting my mental health. Finally, one last violent dream promoted me. I think they mean prompted me into doing a full-blown cleansing ritual on the apartment. Afterwards, the place felt better and most of the major weirdness stopped. No sounds, no shadows or shapes, no dreams of that man, and no major creepy feeling from the archway. But within the last few months, has some strange things have started up again. Mainly misty or white shapes out of the corner of my eye. My boyfriend has told me he swore he saw someone walk through the living room while home alone one morning recently. But also the uneasiness from the archway again, and I guess it's time for another cleansing. Wow. That's pretty hardcore. I guess it's an old building, got a lot of history. So there is that, ladies and gentlemen. Those old buildings, they got a lot of old ghosts. And I mean that figuratively and literally. There just seems to be plenty of them around. So I guess that's that. All right, let's see what else is going on out in the world there. I got to get a drink. A little hoarse. An eclipse. Yeah, I don't turn the moon on. I only turn the moon on during the 2-hour shows because it sucks so much batteries. And I get tired of having to continually replace them. And I don't understand it. It's a bunch of LED bulbs in there, little LEDs. So, I mean, it uses 4 AA batteries. You'd think that would last 3 years? But for some reason, this thing lasts about a month if I use it more, if that, sometimes just a couple weeks. And I'm like, well, we'll just turn it on for the long shows. So I don't usually turn it on for the bedtime stories. So the next one's coming out of Pennsylvania. And it says, my mother passed away from a 2-year battle with cancer in October of 2005. I'm sorry. And overall, it was a terrible experience. She went from weighing 150 pounds most of her adult life to weighing 80-some pounds and suffering from not being able to eat. I have 2 older sisters, and I'm the youngest boy and the only boy. And immediately after my mom's passing, both my sisters had small experiences that hinted to them that my mom was happy and no longer in any pain. We seem to pass the gift throughout our family. However, I have nothing, no sign, no clues / feelings, no dreams, nothing at all. 2 years to the day after my mom's passing, I walk up to my bedroom. On my dresser mirror in the room, I keep a mass card from my mother's wake stuck a quarter of the way in between the mirror and glass and the wood from the mirror. And I went upstairs, walked into my bedroom, and the first thing I noticed was the mass card, a picture of Jesus praying and staring into the heavens, flipped upright on a laundry basket on the floor about 2.5 feet away from the mirror. I put the mass card back on the mirror, and I dropped it about 15 different times, and never once did it get within a foot of falling into the basket. As I mentioned, I'm in tune with my sixth sense, but I have always tried to ignore visitors or certain feelings. I stopped dropping the card and finally said, Mom, if that's you, I love you, and I really hope you are proud of me. That is something she would always say to me. I went downstairs and told my wife what I had just experienced, and she was already well aware of my family's gift. And I wanted to let my stepfather know what just took place, and he hasn't been himself lately with the anniversary of my mom's passing and with the holiday things coming up. His spirits were really down, and I told him the entire story in detail. And I ended it by saying, I hope this kind of thing does not freak you out or make you feel worse. I felt I needed to tell you. And it was probably just the wind or something anyhow. And he told me, no, I actually look forward to these kind of stories from you and your sisters. We said our goodbyes and hung up the phone. There is a part of the story that I did not mention. My wife and I had a brand new baby girl this year, July 2007. We named her after my mom, and I have 2 other children. Both of my children, my wife and I, are Italian, and we all have olive-colored skin and dark brown eyes. My mom was Scotch-Irish, I guess, and had fair skin and blue eyes. And our new baby has fair skin and blue eyes as well. In addition, it is really strange when I look into my baby's blue eyes. They remind me of my mom's, not the color, but the soul, an old soul, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I got a little off track, but it's important to the rest of the story. It was about 1 that same night. My wife fell asleep on the couch downstairs, clearly exhausted from dealing with a newborn baby. I couldn't sleep, so I sat downstairs and stared at some show on television, and I heard the baby crying through the monitor, and I walked into my bedroom, and that same mass card of Jesus was sitting in the basket, flopped upright in the exact same place before that day. I never read the back of that mass card, and I read a line on the card in capital letters, and it said, "And to you I give the greatest gift of all." Very cool. It's always hard to lose those loved ones, but it's nice. It's really nice when they show us signs they're still there. Wow, this is coming from District of Columbia. Wow, DC. I guess it's even spooky there once in a while. All right. And the lines are open. You're right. Thank you. 720-923-0500 if you have something you'd like to share with us here on the show. Brown Dwarf. Is there somebody in here named Brown Dwarf? It's a cool name. But I don't know where that came from. All right, so let's see what's going on. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat quick. Brent, please don't say Scotch. Laugh out loud. Scottish Irish. Oh, it said Scotch Irish in the story. I'm just telling you what it said. I actually said Scottish Irish first, and then I reread it and went, no, it's Scotch Irish. That's how they identified themselves. So I am sorry about that. But it's only what it said. That's just me being completely transparent here. I'm not embellishing. So from DC, it says, my mom died way too early. She was only 51 years old, and it was a really traumatic time for us. And it started out with one of the most terrible sounds I know, the phone ringing in the middle of the night. One of my brothers calling to tell me that my mom had a major heart attack and to get home as quickly as I can. My mom survived for 4 days after her heart attack, and she was terribly sick and in pain. Trying to distract her, I told her I lost my watch. The watch wasn't valuable at all, but it was my only watch, and it was driving me crazy not to have it. My mom latched onto that fact that I lost my watch, and it consumed her thoughts. She kept giving me suggestions of where it might be, and finally she fell asleep, only to wake up about 10 minutes later to say that our Labrador had it. Our lab was about 9 months old and very mischievous, and my mom started laughing and asked if he swallowed it. It would be I be followed through by a ticking Labrador like Captain Hook and his crocodile in Peter Pan. It was the last time I heard my mom laugh. Mom grew steadily sicker and sicker, and the doctor said it was only a matter of time, and at one point she died, but they were able to revive her. Afterward, my mom said that she knew she had died, and was taken to this special place, and in this place she saw some golden snakes or lights flying around, and a man came to her and told her that she had to make a decision. She could either keep fighting or she could let go and come home with him. My mom said that she really wanted to let go and leave with the man, but she was worried about who would take care of my dad and their little dog. I told her that I'd support whatever decision she wanted to make. If she wanted to fight, I would help her. If she wanted to let go, I would take care of Dad and the dog. And that night, my mom rallied. She was even moved to a room outside of the ICU, and she asked to see her only grandchild who had not been allowed in to see her in intensive care. 5 minutes after her grandchild left the room, my mom died. We all believed she had rallied just long enough to see her grandchild again, and then she let go. A month went by, and I was still missing my mom terribly, as I still do 10 years later. But life was moving on, and I was about to leave on a business trip, but I still had not found my watch. I decided to make one more effort, and if I didn't find it, I would have to get a new one. And after looking at it everywhere, I could think, after looking everywhere I could think of, I turned and looked at my dog and I said, "Grandma said that you have the watch. Can I have it back?" He just stood there looking at me with his tongue hanging out, looking goofy. Then he suddenly cocked his head as if he had heard someone call his name, and he ran from the room. 30 seconds later, he was back with something in his mouth. He had my watch. I was dumbfounded. All I could think to do was to say, "Thanks, Mom." Huh. It's funny, all these parent stories are coming up tonight, huh? That's the portal for you, ladies and gentlemen. I, honest to God, don't plan any of this. I just randomly open a bunch of stories. My hand to God that's the truth. So if it seems a little planned, it's literally serendipity. I have no part in which stories I'm pulling up. I'm just pulling up from a big list. And there you have it. So it's really pretty cool. So this one's coming from Louisiana. It all started when me and my girlfriend went to Myrtles Plantation to take the haunted tour. I've never been there before, and after hearing how haunted it was supposed to be, I was more than eager to go. She has been there and spent the night with her mom and told me that she didn't have anything out of the ordinary happen to her when they were there. We arrived a few minutes late for the tour, but the lady giving the tour was nice enough to wait for us. And after we called and told them we were going to be about 15 minutes late, we arrived and went on the tour, which was very nice and a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I can't say that I believe everything that they tell you. However, their stories did make for quite a nice experience. After the tour, we were able to walk around the grounds and just enjoy the beauty of the place. And we were there for about 3 hours walking around, me taking a ton of pictures, trying to get some good images of ghosts, sitting in the gazebo and just enjoying each other's company. At about 11 p.m., we were sitting in the gazebo with her to my left, and we were just talking about random things that came to mind, and we were sitting on the part where our backs were to the water and we were facing the house. When out of nowhere, we had something scream in our ears. Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. It sounded like nothing I've ever heard before, just this hair-raising noise that would be similar to a heavy metal singer belting out a high-pitched noise. Needless to say, the instant I heard it, I whipped my left arm around in a weak attempt to hit whatever it was that just made the noise, knocking the drink out of my girlfriend's hand, and I ran about 4 or 5 steps to just outside the entrance of the gazebo when I stopped dead in my tracks, hearing her picking up everything that I had knocked over in my frantic attempt to save myself. Embarrassed, I walked back to her and helped her pick up all the things. We had a good laugh after the fact, and even though my heart was still racing, I'm sure that some of you, even though you are laughing at me, can feel where I'm coming from. She was never under any impression other than that I'm a terrified of ghosts, and I make no promises of how I will react when put in these types of situations. Needless to say, I wouldn't sit down there for more than a few seconds without getting up and looking behind me, and we both agreed that it was something from beyond that did that to us. She found it kind of interesting that when she was when she was there for a whole day and night, that nothing had happened. And we were there for a few hours and already had something like that happen. We now have a room booked for January, and when we talk about it, she gets kind of scared because she thinks that I might have something about me that attracts the paranormal. If you look at the pictures that other people have taken from this place, you'll usually see 1 or 2 orbs in their pictures, but for some reason, I have about 15 or 20 of in a lot of my pictures, along with some very bright little orbs that I don't know if they are called something else or have a specific reason for being so bright, but I will try to get those pictures on here so that you can see what I'm talking about and maybe give me some better insight on what causes that. One thing that I do know is that if I do attract ghosts, it's going to be a very long night with very little sleep. And the pictures are here, so let me get them up and we can have a look. Now, again, I can't blow these up real big Oh, well, that to me looks like perhaps a mist, but maybe not. Let's look. All right, so there's the first of the pictures. And you can see all these little spots out here. Now, these things can just be a mist in the air. It can be from a fog. It can be, many things can cause these type of orbs. And it doesn't really have, it doesn't have to be paranormal at all. They just appear as artifacts of light if there's any kind of moisture in the air that reflect off of the flash back into the aperture of the camera. So that's in and of itself, it could very well just be some kind of moisture in the air. Perhaps it was sprinkling. Perhaps it was foggy. I don't know. It doesn't look very foggy from the picture, but just there is that. And I have to say that. The next one is this one. Again, lots of things in the air. I don't know. There's so many that, I find it really hard to believe that these are all entities. There isn't anything reflective in here, so they're not lens flares in the traditional sense. There's not a shiny object back here that could be casting refractions of light back to the aperture. But, it could be something. This one is pretty unique. That actually is kind of curious that there's only one. That one intrigues me the most because if the whole picture again was filled with them, then it would be really easy to say, well, there it is again. But this is one dot, one, quote unquote orb. So that may very well be something. What is this one? There's 1, 2. This might be something. It might be just a break in the night sky. Hard to tell. But there's 2 here. But now if you look here, this does look like a little bit of a reflection of light from whatever this object is. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. Nothing over the top to indicate that it's, orbs, but it might be, it might not be. Again, the one back here with the single orb to me is the most curious and begs the most looking into of all of these. But things like this can be so many things that can cause these kind of atmospheric disturbances to create orbs in photos. So take it or leave it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's a possibility. But in any case, believe what you like. Believe what you like, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting nonetheless. So those are the pictures that were included with that story. I hope you enjoyed that. Brent, phone. There is a phone call. Let's see who's calling us now. And this is area code 210. You're on the air. Hello? You're on the air.
Hello?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing tonight?
Good. What's going on tonight? Who am I talking to?
You're talking to Greg Kuntz from San Antonio, Texas.
Hey, Greg, welcome to the show. What's going on in your mind tonight?
I just got a couple stories to tell about some stuff that happened in the past where I used to live.
Oh, brilliant. Please, by all means.
Yeah, I used to live in a house over in here in San Antonio on the other side of town.
Okay.
And apparently, before he moved in there, a kid had passed away in a car crash. And we were staying there for quite a while. And me and both my brothers were younger back then.
Okay.
And we would always see shadows and stuff there and all kinds of crazy stuff, hearing noises and our parents never noticed it, of course.
That's always the case.
You know how that goes.
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, it's always the case.
Yeah. But I just wanted to call and just talk about that and
yeah, by all means.
All my crazy experiences with that. I appreciate what you're doing with the show. I really enjoy the show and everything.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really cool. I think
definitely.
I think there's something very powerful with those kind of situations, and I'm sure you experienced what you said you did. And it's always go ahead and share anything more. I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, one night, my brothers were having their birthday party there. I have twin brothers,
Uh-huh.
and we were way younger than we were in elementary school. And we had some friends that lived down the street,
Okay.
and we invited them over and another one of their friends.
Uh-huh.
And they were sleeping in the living room that night because we didn't have any other rooms. So basically, the day after, they tell us they didn't sleep at all that night. They woke up in the middle of the night, and the lights started flickering on and off,
No.
and the ice machine started going off by itself.
Oh.
The kettle started whistling by itself, and there was no water in it.
Oh, no.
And they figured, oh, their dad might be getting up for work or whatever, and he was still dead asleep. Like, and yeah, and it kept getting crazier. And so one of them like woke up our other friend and was telling them, hey man, the lights are flashing, there's stuff happening, there's nobody in here. And they were totally freaked out. One of them covered their head with their sheets and stuff. And then the other one peeked out, and they look in the corner and they see a black shrouded figure in the corner.
Oh, that's
And they could not tell what the shrouded figure was, like, and it freaked them out. And they tried to turn off all the lights and everything. And they said they still heard stuff all night long, and were seeing shadows and stuff. And I didn't realize this till we moved out, but when I was sleeping in my room, I would always see shadows going by under the door because we would leave the hallway light or the kitchen light on sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Just passing by, and I know my parents were asleep. But yeah, my brother's friends who saw this were freaked out. One of them was like, "I'm never going back to that house again." Like, it was really wild because we had heard stories about the kid passing away in the car accident there.
Right.
But
the shadows seem
yeah,
a
it
little
was
different.
really,
You know,
yeah, it was really crazy.
yeah, that is really crazy. Now the shadows that's kind of different though. You know, that doesn't strike me as the normal apparition you would expect from a kid, you know, passing
Yeah,
in a car accident.
that's exactly what I'm saying. I haven't heard too many stories of like people seeing black shrouded figures and stuff. Mostly like
Right.
smoke like figures and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Or it would seem, you know, it would be more teenager ish in not only in appearance,
Right.
but in the things that it would do as a result. You know, I mean, it would seem to fit the character, but what you're describing seems like, I don't know, a more profound haunting than just somebody stuck. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And when I stayed there, I was younger, and like I didn't know about all this stuff when I was younger, but it just felt weird in the house. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I felt like I would act different than I would at our other house, and like I don't know, you know what I mean? Just do stuff that I wouldn't normally do inside of the house.
Right.
But when I left the house, I felt normal.
Sure. So it had a real oppressive kind of environment.
Oh yeah, for sure. And my
Wow.
parents just did not even notice that. Like, I guess they were just oblivious to it. Like, oh, y'all are just being kids that are worried about all this stuff.
Throughout the time.
And then years later, one of the friends who had saw this stuff put up on Facebook a whole entire story about it, explaining it all in detail.
So
it was pretty crazy.
now, do your parents or does your family still live in that house?
Oh no, we moved out of the house years ago.
Okay, because what I'm wondering is, was there, did it seem like there was like any more heightened tension for the family during the time you guys were there, like more arguing than normal?
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely for me and my brothers.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, there was definitely also tension with my parents too.
Okay.
Like more so than usual also.
Right. So it sounds like there's some kind of dark presence on that home for sure. You know.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And depending on the strength of the presence, I mean, when you're thinking about a real dark negative haunt, you know, and I hate throwing around the term demon because I think that gets really overused in the paranormal and people just throw it around way too easily. But there are demonic
haunts. They overuse the term.
Right, but there are demonic haunts. And, you know, there's been many stories of people being followed by these dark presences and perhaps even causing accidents. I've read many accounts from people that claim that they not only had problems in their home, but when it really got bad, it was like it was following them, trying to create problems everywhere in their life.
Oh, like fall into their other houses and
Well,
just
like,
fall on their spirit in general type thing.
well, more like if they went to school, they would see the same dark shadows at school when they normally didn't.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
it would follow them
Right,
throughout their
yeah.
life. And when you, and I'm not, I'm absolutely not trying to say this is what happened in this situation, but it makes you wonder if it's a real dark
No,
presence.
I think you might be right because one day I had just woken up for school
Uh-huh.
and we had all the fans and everything fixed, our ceiling fan,
Uh-huh.
like just fixed right when we moved in there. And one morning I woke up and the fan was spinning like on a slow level, the ceiling fan.
Uh-huh.
And out of nowhere, one of the blades, they were all tightened on. We just tightened them on. One of them just decided to come off and smack me in the face the day right before school.
Oh no.
And I could feel like a negative energy follow me all day that day and all week.
See, and you said that a child had died that did live in that house prior.
Yeah,
So maybe
exactly, yeah.
maybe that was the pattern for the thing, and it's just purely speculative. But
Right, right.
the dark cloak figure is usually indicative of something a little more powerful than your garden variety ghost or garden variety haunting.
Yeah,
So I
right, yeah. Because it was messing with all kinds of different stuff in the house,
Wow,
like the ice machine, the kettle,
right,
lights, everything. Like the lights turned on by themselves.
yeah. Now, what is it about people hiding under covers?
I guess they were just we were real young back then, so I guess they just felt safe under the covers. You know what I mean?
I do.
When you get that feeling when you're laying in bed, like something's watching you. Oh, I'm under the covers. I feel safe now.
Yeah, I can't see it, so it makes it a little better. Yeah, to me, that's like, oh my god.
Yeah, yeah.
If I saw something creepy and scary, I'd want to be keeping my eye on it. But
Yeah, exactly. That's how I am. If I feel like there's something in my room, I don't cover up. I want to look around.
right, you want to know when it's about to jump on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's pretty hardcore, brother. Now, since then, have you experienced anything else in other places, or was this just kind of a one location deal for you?
I would say mostly in that house, but in the house that I'm living in right now, my grandparents had passed away,
Uh-huh.
and I do feel like their spirits are here still
Oh, that's
because
cool.
they lived here and they had built this house here that I'm staying at right now.
Oh, that's really cool.
And my grandfather built like the back room and the patio and so many things in the back. Like he literally made it like a whole new house. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And my dad says, "Oh, every time I go over there, I can feel his presence. I know he's still there." And same with my grandmother.
Oh, that's really cool.
But it's not like, yeah, it's not like in like a bad way. It's like a
Right.
protection type of thing. You know what I mean?
No, I do. I think you're absolutely right, and that's the kind of presences you want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool, brother. Did you have anything more to share, or is that it?
That's about it. I'm just a first time caller. I just wanted to call in, give my story, and let you know I appreciate everything you do.
Oh, thanks, brother. That means the world to me, and thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thanks for calling in and sharing
Yeah,
that
of
with
course.
us. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And my dad said he loves the T-shirt, and I love mine too.
That's really cool, man. Thank you so much for your support and for helping us out.
Of course, man. Thank you.
All right, have a great night.
All right, you too, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
That's awesome. I love those calls. I love those calls. You guys bring something so cool to each show when you guys contribute and call in and share your experiences. I mean, that's, again, I know I say it all the time, but that's why I started doing the show, is I wanted to hear these things. That's really cool. Very, very cool. All right. So this one is coming from Michigan. Let me check the time. 44. No, that's not too long. This should be okay. We got time maybe for another story or two. So we'll see how it goes here. When I was about 12 or 13, I began to see something. A short man, about 4.5 feet tall, with a burlap vest and long pants torn off just below the knee. He had the proportions of a midget, but the way he moved did not resemble a midget's. There were the movements of a proportional human being. I had been seeing something out of the corner of my eyes. for quite some time by this time, but nothing so drastic as this. And wandering into my parents' bathroom to grab something, but about 5 or 6 feet before I reached the door, I stopped and saw him out of the corner of my eye, leaning against the door with his arms crossed and one leg crossed over the other. His stance was ominous, but not really evil, or maybe I just couldn't detect if it was. But now, usually he would appear at places at different times and then just vanish, but this time he actually lingered. I stood there frozen, not out of fear, but bewilderment. And as he ran abnormally fast right through my direct line of sight, and then took a sharp turn, which led him right next to me, no further than a few inches from my face, and suddenly he began to quickly mutter something in a loud whisper, but I couldn't understand what he was saying. When he was done, he paused for a moment and then just vanished. Even though he was in the corner of my eye, I should have been able to pick up some distinguishing characteristics, but all I could see was a nose, eyes, and mouth, and shaded face that I can't elaborate on. This incident didn't really trouble me in the slightest, but I did think about it quite often. After that, he didn't appear to me again until I was about 17 years old. He would once again only appear in my peripheral vision and then vanish before I would attempt to look directly at him. And I kept this event secret due to fear of ridicule, but I decided to converse with a friend about it a year ago when I was 19. Even though he was a good friend, I expected an awkward response, but received quite the opposite. He had had a similar experience with a very tall figure, about 7 feet tall, who wore a burlap jacket instead of a vest, and he had seen the figure on the side of the road while traveling back to his home state of Alabama, and I am since more open about the subject. The last time I saw the figure was in the mid to late August of the present year, 2007. I was driving home from work at about 10:30 p.m., and there were no houses on the strip of road I was on, and no other cars either, so there was no other source of light to distort my headlights. He walked across the road about 8 feet in front of my car at a slow pace, but he seemed to be moving at the same pace as my car because I was still moving, but I did not get any closer to him. He walked all the way across the road to the opposite side and once again vanished. I'm now almost 20 years old, and it is late November, and I still continue to see him occasionally. I don't know who or what he is, but I've heard them called in-betweens because they most often appear in doorways and other passages. If anyone has any similar experiences or knows any source of information on the subject, please let me know. Wow, that's pretty powerful. I don't know. Those kind of things are weird. I've not heard of in-between before. Excuse me. In-between is a new term to me personally. And apparently it's been around for a while because this story is from 2007. And somehow I've never heard of in-betweens. The tattered clothing and stuff, I don't know. Now what he was seeing was rather short. But the friend had an incident with something much taller. And I don't know that matters much because I think that many beings can be perceived how they choose to be. They can be perceived like many ghosts are usually perceived in whatever state they died. In other words, if a person died in a fire, they may choose to manifest themselves as a charred person. And I believe that's an attempt to communicate instantly with the people perceiving it. I don't think it's meant to actually terrify people. I think it's meant to say, I'm here and this is how I died, because perhaps these spirits know they just can't go, hey, I'm Pete, and yeah, it turns out I fell asleep smoking and my bed caught on fire. Can you believe it? They can't do that. So all they can do is appear visually in a burned state so that people will instantly understand, I saw a ghost and it was in a burned state, so I believe it died in a fire. it's an instant way of communicating. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So I imagine that that's kind of the concept. I believe that that's the reason why they may choose to appear that way. Mrs. Portal, when she was in Indonesia, said that she saw a young lady when she was younger as well. And she said that she looked normal because she was almost in a profile, but then she turned her head towards her and she could see the other side of her face was all burned up. And that's when she knew she'd seen a ghost. And it's funny because she's had that experience, but she really doesn't get into the paranormal much, which maybe is a good thing. Maybe that's one of the reasons she puts up with me, because we're different enough that it works. But she had seen that, and I think that again was just a method for the spirit to instantly communicate. Here's how I died. This is what happened, and it's just a visual story. And so, and she did say, I think that it was near the site of a building that had burned, like right in front of an old cottage or house that had burned down. So I think that's right. I might be mischaracterizing that completely, but I believe that's what she told me. But I'm a guy, so we only pay attention to about half of that. I'm just kidding. I listen to her all the time, even when she doesn't think I'm listening. But that's what they call love, right? That's love right there. So cool story, though. Cool story. Let's see what's going on here. We didn't read this one, did we? Okay, this is a quickie anyway. And let's see, how long is this one? Yeah, I can read 2 more for you. All right, the first one is North Carolina. It was a warm night in June of 2007. I was ghost hunting with a partner, and we were at our next destination, the Cove Creek Cemetery. This time around, the time was around 11 p.m., and we just left from the a small cemetery on my aunt's land. I left my camcorder in the front seat. It was so heavy. My partner starts provoking, and I provoke along with her. Oh, that's not good. I ask if there's any presences in this graveyard, and she asks the presence to let itself be known to us. We both feel the energy getting stronger, and it happened quickly. I step away from my partner a few feet, and I shine my light around where she and I were standing, and I turn my light off. My eyes adjust to the darkness, and I ask, "Will you let us see you?" And I feel a cold breeze around my lower legs, and I even hear a breeze below me. Then, right before my eyes, I see a shadow that was dark but see-through, and it twirls around myself and my partner's legs. It never goes through us or touches us, but it literally dances around us and keeps a small, cool breeze around it. I laugh because it seemed at the time like it was dancing around us, letting its presence be known to us in such a cool manner. It lasted for about 3 to 4 seconds, and then it was gone. The breeze remained for a couple of seconds after. I ran to my vehicle and grabbed my camera, and I took a lot of pictures, and I have yet to have these pictures developed. I will soon, and will update you if they are interested. But there's no pictures posted here, and this is quite an old story, so apparently they never got around to it. Or there was nothing on those pictures worth sharing. All right, so let's see. The next one is California. I was up in San Jose, California for a hockey game with my wife, my son, and a friend of my son, and we decided to drive to San Francisco and tour Alcatraz. Upon arriving to the prison, we started to follow one of the park rangers and listen to his story on the island, but it was taken far too long, so we decided to break off and tour ourselves. We were walking up on the morgue. To the left is a small structure with 2 doors and a window. In each door, as I look over, I see a person looking directly at me through the window. I turn to my family and say, "Did you see that guy looking at us through the window?" And I look back, and he was gone. I walked to the doors and looked in the window to complete darkness, and the doors were chained shut with a rusty lock. The hair on my neck was standing. He was pointy in features, grayish in color, with receded comb black hair. And I did not see his body, but I would say he was approximately 5'7" or 5'6" to 5'7" in height, judging from the doors and him looking over the window. This is something I will never forget since I turned 40. This is my second encounter. The first one I did not see, but I believe I stayed in a haunted hotel room in Venice, Italy, and I'll write about that one as well. Wow. So that's a ghost from Alcatraz. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our edition of tonight's Paranormal Portal, Bedtime Stories from Beyond. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Again, I hope you had a wonderful day with your family. And if you weren't able to be with your family, I hope that you kept them close to you in your heart. I love you all very much. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. So have a great night, everybody. And I'll be back tomorrow night with more of the Bedtime Stories from Beyond for you. So I guess I'll see you then. But until then, sweet dreams.